Here, you can improve your English with advanced, natural, and meaningful conversations. This episode is for C1 to C2 learners. Listen carefully to Sophia and Daniel. Notice the high-level vocabulary, follow the deeper ideas, and improve your fluency, pronunciation, and confidence step by step. Now, let's start the conversation.
Hi, I'm Sophia.
And I'm Daniel.
Today, we are talking about one of the most dramatic moments in football, the penalty shootout.
Exactly. The penalty shootout is fascinating because it looks simple from the outside. One player, one goalkeeper, one ball, one goal. But psychologically, it is one of the most complex situations in sport.
That is what makes it so intense. Technically, a penalty is just a shot from 12 yards, but emotionally, it can feel like a trial, a confession, and a public examination all at once.
Yes, the distance is short, but the pressure is enormous. In a normal match situation, a player can hide inside the rhythm of the game. There are teammates, opponents, movement, noise, and tactical chaos. But during a penalty shootout, everything becomes isolated.
Isolated is the perfect word. The player is suddenly alone. The stadium may be full of people, but in that moment, he walks from the halfway line to the penalty spot, almost like he is walking through silence.
And that walk is psychologically brutal. It gives the player too much time to think. In football, instinct is often a player's best friend, but before a penalty, the mind can become crowded with possibilities.
He may think, should I go left? Should I go right? What if the goalkeeper guesses correctly? What if I slip? What if I miss? What if this moment defines me forever?
Exactly. And the problem is that the body listens to the mind. If doubt enters the body, the movement changes. The run-up becomes less natural. The foot becomes tense. The shot loses conviction.
So the real opponent is not only the goalkeeper.
No, the real opponent is hesitation. The goalkeeper matters, of course, but the most dangerous battle happens inside the player's own attention.
That is why some penalties look technically poor, even when the player is usually excellent. It is not that he suddenly forgot how to shoot. It is that pressure disrupted his rhythm.
Absolutely. Pressure can interfere with automatic skill. A professional player has taken thousands of penalties in training, but the World Cup creates a different emotional environment. Training is repetition. A shootout is judgment.
And judgment changes everything.
It does. When a player knows that millions of people are watching, that his family is watching, that his country is watching, and that history may remember this one kick, the penalty becomes more than a technical action.
It becomes theatre.
Yes, but theatre without a script. The player is both the actor and the person being judged. There is nowhere to hide.
What I find interesting is how quiet the moment feels, even in a loud stadium. The crowd may be screaming, but emotionally, the player seems trapped inside a private room.
That is a beautiful way to describe it. The penalty shootout creates a private psychological room inside a public spectacle.
And in that room, confidence can either expand or disappear.
Exactly. The best penalty takers are not always the strongest shooters. They are often the players who can protect their decision, control their breathing, and stay loyal to their technique under extreme emotional pressure.
So, a penalty shootout is not simply about accuracy.
No, it is about emotional regulation, decision-making, attention control, body language, and the ability to act decisively while fear is present.
While fear is present, that is important. Courage does not mean the player feels nothing.
Exactly. Courage means he feels the fear and still takes the step forward.
Daniel, do you think penalty shootouts are fair? Some people say they are a cruel way to decide a World Cup match.
I understand that argument. After 120 minutes of football, reducing everything to 5 kicks can feel almost unfair. It can seem like a lottery, especially when an entire tournament depends on such small margins.
But is it really a lottery?
Not completely. There is luck, of course, but calling it a lottery ignores preparation, psychology, technique, scouting, routine, and mental resilience. Penalties are uncertain, but they are not random.
That makes sense. A player can practice different types of shots, study the goalkeeper, develop a routine, and prepare mentally for the pressure.
Exactly, but the difficulty is that preparation does not remove uncertainty. It only gives the player something stable to hold on to when uncertainty becomes overwhelming.
So routine becomes an anchor.
Yes, many great penalty takers use routines because routines reduce psychological chaos. The number of steps, the breathing pattern, the visual focus, the chosen corner, these details create structure.
Without structure, the player might start negotiating with himself at the worst possible moment.
Precisely, and that internal negotiation is dangerous. A player who changes his mind during the run-up often loses clarity. The shot becomes neither one decision nor another.
That explains why hesitation is so visible. You can almost see it in the body.
Yes, the body reveals uncertainty. A slightly slower run-up, a glance at the goalkeeper, a tense shoulder, a weaker contact with the ball. These small details can show psychological conflict.
What about the goalkeeper? His psychology must be completely different.
Very different. The goalkeeper is under pressure too, but it is a different kind of pressure. The penalty taker is expected to score. The goalkeeper is not expected to save every shot. So psychologically, the goalkeeper sometimes has more freedom.
That is interesting. The goalkeeper can become the hero more easily.
Exactly. If the goalkeeper saves a penalty, he becomes heroic. If he fails, people often blame the taker more than the goalkeeper. That changes the emotional balance.
So the goalkeeper can play mind games.
Absolutely. Goalkeepers use delay, movement, eye contact, gestures, and body language to create doubt. Sometimes they are not trying to predict the shot, they are trying to disturb the decision.
So the penalty is also a psychological negotiation between two people.
Yes, it is a duel of information and deception. The taker tries to hide intention, the goalkeeper tries to read intention or manipulate it. Both are performing confidence, even if both are afraid.
Performing confidence. That feels very accurate, because body language can become a weapon.
Exactly. A confident walk, calm breathing, steady eye contact, and a clear routine can send a message, I have already decided. But nervous body language can invite the goalkeeper into the player's mind.
And once the goalkeeper enters the player's mind, the penalty becomes much harder.
Yes, the penalty spot is not only a place on the pitch, it is a psychological battlefield.
Another thing I notice is that some players rush while others delay. Is one better than the other?
It depends on the player. Some need speed because waiting increases anxiety. Others need time because their routine requires calm. The key is not whether the routine is fast or slow. The key is whether the player owns it.
Owns it, meaning he trusts it.
Exactly. Under pressure, trust is everything. Trust in the technique, trust in the decision, trust in the preparation, and trust that one kick does not erase an entire human being.
That last part may be the hardest.
Yes, because in a World Cup shootout, the player knows that the world may not be so generous.
What I find most emotional about penalty shootouts is how quickly they create heroes and heartbreak. One player scores and he becomes fearless. Another misses and suddenly he is surrounded by silence.
Yes, the emotional violence of a penalty shootout is extraordinary. It compresses glory and devastation into seconds. A player can move from hope to despair before the crowd has even finished reacting.
That is why the walk back after a missed penalty feels so painful to watch.
It does. The walk back is almost symbolic. The player returns to his teammates, but he may feel completely alone. He knows that people are watching his face, his body language, his shame, his attempt to remain composed.
And the camera makes it even more intense. It follows the player's pain.
Exactly. Modern football does not only show the action, it shows the emotional aftermath. The close-up of the player's face becomes part of the story, sometimes even more memorable than the shot itself.
That feels cruel sometimes. A person experiences one of the worst moments of his career, and the world watches it in slow motion.
It is cruel, but it also reveals why football is so powerful. It gives us human emotion without disguise. The joy is real, the regret is real, the trembling is real, the relief is real.
Do you think a missed penalty can damage a player permanently?
It can, depending on the player, the context, the public reaction, and the support system around him. Some players recover and become stronger. Others carry that moment for years, not because they lack character, but because public failure can leave a deep psychological mark.
Especially when the miss is connected to national disappointment.
Exactly. When a penalty is missed in a club match, it hurts. But when it is missed in a World Cup, the emotional scale becomes national. The player may feel responsible for the sadness of millions.
That is an impossible burden.
It is. And that is why the language we use after missed penalties matters. Criticism is part of sport, but cruelty is not analysis. Humiliation is not passion. Dehumanizing a player does not prove loyalty.
I agree. A player can miss a penalty and still deserve dignity.
Absolutely. In fact, stepping forward to take a penalty already requires courage. Many people criticize from a distance, but very few would willingly stand at the spot with a nation waiting.
That is true. The player who misses is often the player who is brave enough to take responsibility.
Exactly. And responsibility always involves risk. A penalty shootout exposes the uncomfortable truth that courage does not guarantee success.
That is a powerful sentence. Courage does not guarantee success.
But it still matters. Sometimes the bravest people are not the ones who win. They are the ones who step forward, knowing they might fail publicly.
Maybe that is why penalty shootouts stay in our memory. They show technique, but also character. They show preparation, but also vulnerability.
Yes, they reveal the fragile relationship between control and chaos. A player can prepare for years, but in the final moment, the ball can still rise too high, hit the post, or meet the goalkeeper's hand.
So maybe the penalty shootout is powerful because it feels like life.
Exactly. Life often gives us moments where preparation matters, but certainty disappears. We make decisions under pressure. We live with consequences. We hope our courage is enough.
That is why a penalty shootout is more than a method of deciding a match. It becomes a miniature drama about fear, responsibility, and human limitation.
And maybe that is why we cannot look away. The penalty spot is small, but emotionally it feels enormous.
One step. One breath, one kick.
And sometimes, one lifetime of memory.
That was a powerful conversation, Daniel. Today, we explored the psychology of penalty shootouts, the fear, the silence, the routine, the hesitation, the goalkeeper's mind games, and the emotional weight of one decisive kick.
Exactly. We talked about why penalties are not just technical actions, but psychological duels filled with pressure, courage, uncertainty, and consequence.
And in our next conversation, we will move from the penalty spot to the stands. We will talk about football and national pride, when support becomes beautiful and when it becomes dangerous.
That will be an important topic because football can unite people, but it can also reveal the darker side of identity, rivalry, and emotion.
Thank you for listening.
See you in the next episode.
This episode was for C1 to C2 learners. Keep listening, repeat useful phrases, pay attention to advanced vocabulary, and try to use these expressions in your own conversations. The more you listen, the more natural your English will become. See you in the next episode.